learners. Welcome. I'm Dr. Uma Singh and today we shall be learning about the management function of controlling. You're already familiar with the management functions of planning, organizing, staffing and directing. Now we need to study in detail about the last and the most important function of management, that is controlling. So in this chapter we shall be discussing and understanding about the meaning and features of controlling, the importance of controlling, the relationship between planning and controlling, and the steps that are required for the process of controlling. So let us now start with what is controlling. Now controlling is one of the most important function of management and is also regarded as the essence of management. Why is it called the essence of management? Because it is the most important essential part which is covered in every function of management. That means it is a function that is required under planning, organizing, directing and staffing. It is a process that ensures that the actual performance is in conformity with the laid down standards. So under controlling, what we actually do is that we measure the actual performances received and compare them with the standards that have been laid down under planning. So it is a process that ensures that you are able to achieve your planned results. So the concept of controlling actually talks about three things. It talks about measurement, it talks about evaluation, and it talks about correction. So under management, it talks about the process of measuring and correcting the activities. Now what are these activities? These activities could be in the form of plans or organizational structures and divisions or the personnel of the organization. So it measures the various activities that have been undertaken by all the other functions of management. Then it determines that what is being tackled by evaluating the performance, and in case there is a deviation or variation, by applying the corrective measures so that you are able to identify that where the things have not been in accordance with the laid down plans. And then finally we take the corrective action. That means after identifying the various variations or deviations, we choose the right part which enables to perform the actual task in the most appropriate manner. Now the next thing that we need to discuss and understand is with respect to the features of controlling, that what are the basic characteristics of controlling or what are the various parameters of controlling. So as you can see that the various features of controlling shall talk about that it is the primary function of management, it is a continuous process, it is goal oriented, it's a pervasive function, it is a dynamic process and it is a forward looking activity. So let us proceed further and understand that why is it a primary function of management. Now controlling is one of the most important element of the managerial function. It is a function which is not only the prerogative of the top level management but also is to be undertaken by all the other levels of management. So it is the responsibility of not only the top level or the higher level hierarchy in the organization to perform the control function, but is also the responsibility that is to be assigned by all the various managers of different departments so that they are able to ensure that the performance of their subordinates are in conformity with the laid down goals. So that is why it is called as the primary function of management and also referred to as the essence of management, because of the fact that it is an important area, it is an essential function which is to be performed for all the other functions of the management. Next is that it's a continuous process. So it is not a one-shot exercise. So controlling does not mean that it is a one-step exercise, but it in fact is a process which considers various series of steps. So, that indicates or that means that control is to be followed as a particular series of the various steps that have been laid down. So, in order to ensure that you are able to measure your planned or your actual performance, for that purpose you have to undertake a series of steps, and once the control is withdrawn, it is going to adversely affect the entire task or the entire activity. So, control will have to be exercised on a continuous basis. So, you cannot just decide that once the control is over and it's the end of it, it has to be a regular and a continuous process. Third is that it is goal directed. Controlling ensures that the resources of the organization are being used wisely and effectively for the achievement of the already predetermined goal. So, that means controlling is undertaken with a certain set of objectives, and it enables that you are able to accomplish those objectives, and you also ensure that the performance of your activities or the performance of your staff and the use of those resources enables the organization in achieving the already pre-decided goals. So, that means it is directed towards ensuring that the performance is in relation or is accordance with the predetermined goals. Then the next very important feature or characteristic of controlling is that it's a pervasive function. So, what does it mean? Pervasive function means that it is performed in all different types of organizations and at all managerial levels. So, this function enables controlling that it is not only in the business organization, but also in all non-profit organizations or non-business organizations like hospitals or educational institutes or hotels or clubs, or even for that matter religious institutes or religious places also. No work can be accomplished until and unless controlling is ensured in those kinds of organizations as well. So, it is a function which is required in every kind of organization, irrespective of whether it's a business organization or whether it's a non-business organization. Another important aspect related to pervasiveness is that it is a function that is required at all the levels, although the scope of the function varies from level to level. So, at top level, the controlling mechanism would be to control the entire organization. At the middle level, the managers would be involved in managing the departmental or their divisional levels or their separate departments or division, and at lower levels you would be more concerned with the subordinates or the worker level, that their performance is exactly in line with the laid down objectives or as per the plans that have already been decided. So, again, an important issue here is to understand that again it's a function that is required at all the levels of the management. Then the next important feature is that it's a dynamic process. So, dynamic means that something which is not constant and something which keeps on changing. So, controlling is not a static activity but a flexible system. It is a dynamic process or a dynamic concept because as and when the changes keeps on taking place in the environment, whether internal to the environment or whether external to the environment, the control mechanism also needs to adjust itself according to those changes, and you need to keep on reviewing and revising your controlling techniques, and these techniques we'll discuss later in the chapter. So, the control mechanism needs to be adjusted so that you are able to incorporate whatever new changes or whatever necessity things are incorporated by both the internal as well as the external factors. Then it is a forward looking approach. So, forward looking means something that talks about or something which takes into consideration that what is going to happen in the near future. So controlling is forward looking, although it seeks to ensure that you are measuring the past performance, or you're doing a postmortem of the events that have already occurred. But through the postmortem of those events or activities that have already occurred, it ensures that you're able to improvise your future events, and you are able to learn through your past experience. So a control system is formulated to minimize wastages, losses, and no unnecessary and undesirable deviations or variations, and fix standards, so that it helps in better innovation and improvements in the laid down plans or laid down standards. Now, after having discussed about the various important characteristics and features of controlling, now we move ahead and learn about that why is controlling significant for the organization. As already stated, that controlling is one of the most important function of all the other functions that you have already studied in detail, because controlling is one such element that ensures that all your planning, organizing, staffing and directing are performed in the right manner or in the right direction. So as a result, it becomes a very, very important area, and it tries to provide for these particular significant aspects for the management or the organization. So let us now move ahead and discuss in detail that why is controlling important for the management. So the first is that it helps in achieving organizational goals, or it enables the management in achieving the organizational goals. Now controlling helps in comparing the actual performance with the predetermined standards. That means it tries to compare the laid down standards that you have already laid down or have decided or have fixed at the time of deciding about your plan, and the actual results that you receive after accomplishing the task, and then finding out the variations and deviations and taking the corrective measures so as to ensure that those activities or those tasks are performed according to the plans. So it helps in achieving the organizational goals in this manner, that you're moving in the right direction, and in case there are deviations or in case there are variations in comparison to what you have pre-decided, you can seek immediate corrective actions for the same. Then next is that it helps in judging the accuracy of the standards. Now what are the standards basically? So standards are basically, you can understand them as benchmarks, or as the highlighting points that needs to be achieved. So a good control system enables the management to verify that whether these standards that you have laid down, which are of course forecasted looking ahead, are they accurate and objective also or not? Are they really achievable or not? So an efficient control system keeps a careful check on the changes that are taking place in the organization as well as in the environment, and it helps to review and revise those standards in the light of such changes. So what is important here is that you also have to keep on making your control mechanism very flexible and very dynamic, so that whatever new areas are developing or whatever changes are coming up, you are able to immediately revise and review them in your standards by making them accurate. Then making efficient use of resources. So through control, the management ensures that you are reducing the wastage and the spoilage or unnecessary usage of the resources, and this activity is performed again in conformity with the laid down standards and norms, thus ensuring that the use of resources, so whether it is human resources or whether it is financial resources or whether it is physical resources, they are being used in the most effective and the efficient manner. Then improving employee motivation. So once you know that these are the standards that have to be achieved, they are well communicated to your employees also. So when the employees know that they would be assessed on the basis of the standards or the guidances that has already been provided to them. As a result, they try to perform on the basis of the laid down standards, or they try to achieve whatever targets or whatever benchmarks have been provided to them. And as a result, through the systematic evaluation of the performance, it enables them to earn better rewards and better incentives, or maybe bonus, or a promotion, or higher responsibilities. And because of this, they feel motivated and more committed towards the organization. Then another important part of controlling is that it ensures order and discipline. Now, controlling is a very important aspect which creates an atmosphere of order and discipline in the organization. It helps to minimize dishonest behavior on the part of employees by keeping a close check on their activities. Once the employees knows that their performance is being judged and being monitored as per the plans or as per the targets, they are trying to achieve, or they try to achieve ethically and honestly the laid down standards. And as a result of this kind of close supervision or close check on their performance, it creates orderliness in the organization. Then next is that it facilitates coordination in action. So controlling provides direction to all the activities and efforts of achieving the organizational goal. Each department and employee is governed by the predetermined standards which are well coordinated with one another. And as a result of this coordination of efforts and coordination of resources among different divisions or among different hierarchical levels, it again ensures that the goals are being achieved in the predetermined usage. Then it helps in improving the performance. How does it help in improving the performance? Now, by keeping a continuous check on the performance and use of the resources, controlling ensures that the employees are well aware of their duties and responsibilities, and an efficient allocation and usage of the resources enables in improved performance. So again, as the employees are already aware about the standards that they need to achieve, and they also know that their performance is being judged and closely monitored. So as a result of this, they try to use their resources and they try to use their own knowledge and skills in the best of the manner, so as to improvise this performance and facilitate in accomplishing the laid down standards. Then it helps in minimizing the errors. So controlling is also a function that it enables to keep a check on the various variations or deviations that take place and provides for the corrective action. So as a result, whatever errors or whatever misuse of resources have taken place, it tries to identify that errors or any kind of misuse and takes or seeks corrective action, so that in the near future this can be totally eradicated, or at least, if not eradicated, but at least be minimized. Now, after having understood the various importance and significant aspects of controlling, controlling also suffers from certain demerits or certain limitations. So some of the limitations, as has been listed down, could be that there is difficulty in setting quantitative standards, there is no control on external factors, there is resistance from employees, and of course controlling is a costly and an expensive exercise. So now let us quickly just learn that what it means to state that there is difficulty in setting quantitative standards. Now, as we've understood that controlling is a mechanism of judging your performance and judging the performance and comparing it with the laid down standards. But in order to compare the actual performance with the predetermined standards, it is quite possible that these standards, if they are not in quantitative terms, then it becomes very difficult to compare the standards. If standards are in qualitative forms like job satisfaction or improvement in performance or increasing the employee morale or lowering the organizational conflict or bringing about a cohesive environment or developing cohesive environment in the organization, these kind of qualitative aspects cannot be measured. So as a result, the management cannot identify or cannot compare the actual performance and the laid down standards. So in order to measure the performance, it is necessary that these standards as far as possible must be quantitative, like maybe in terms of revenue or maybe in terms of sales targets or maybe in terms of profits. But then every time quantitative standards are not possible because there are many other dimensions in the organization wherein the quantitative standards cannot be established, and there the controlling mechanism becomes very limited or it becomes difficult. Then there is no control on external factors. We have just learned as a part of feature of controlling that it's a dynamic exercise, it's a dynamic activity, and also one of the significant aspects of controlling is that no proper revision and proper kind of reassessment of your factors has to take place. But then these factors, if they are internal to the organization, we can still accept the fact that no, the revisions can be undertaken easily because they can be forecasted or at least they can be identified. But in case these factors are external to the organization, like technological changes or competition or government policies or strategies by the competitors, changes in the taste of the consumers. Now these external factors are very difficult to forecast and difficult to identify because they lie external to your organization, and herein the management does not have any control on these external factors, and as a result laying down or identifying the standards for all these external factors again is a big challenge for the management. Then the next limitation is there is resistance from the employees. Now again, we've been constantly discussing and talking about the fact that the performance of the employees need to be judged so as to ensure that they are able to achieve the targets. But then when the employees know that their performance would be judged and they are being constantly monitored or constantly supervised, that itself creates a lot of fear and lot of tension, and maybe sometimes their performance also is not very efficient or they are not able to perform with freedom. So as a result, controlling sometimes there is resistance from the employees, or even as trade unions, it is a mechanism which is not very encouraged by the employees or it is not encouraged by the trade union. And then of course this becomes a very important limitation, that in spite of the fact that controlling is one of the important areas of management and it has so many advantages, but because of the resistance of the employees it cannot be undertaken on a very large or in a perspective in which it should be taken up. And then the most important limitation of controlling, which as a result sometimes it is not favored by the smaller organization, is that it's a costly affair, it's an expensive affair, it's a time consuming and an effort consuming element, and as a result you require sometimes special managers or special people or special recruits have to be done which are catering only for the purpose of controlling. And when you indulge into new recruitments or having separate managers for the purpose, it involves expenditure, it involves time, it involves a lot of effort, and then it is not again favored sometimes by the smaller organization where time and money or finance is always in limited quantity. Now after having discussed about the limitations of controlling, we move forward and discuss about a very important aspect that talks about the relationship between the first function of management and the last function of management. So that means first function is your planning and the last function is controlling. and both of them are, we call them as inseparable twins of management, because both are interrelated and inseparable functions of the management. There is a close relationship between both planning and controlling. In fact, we start from planning. If you observe the management process, you start with planning, organizing, staffing, directing, controlling, and again you end again to planning in the form of replanning in case revisions or some changes are to be taken place. So through controlling you are able to revise and recapitulate your entire management process, and as a result again you are back to planning through replanning. So planning and controlling are very much interrelated to one another. So now, after having understood the advantages and limitations of controlling, we move forward and discuss a very important topic, that is the relationship between planning and controlling. Planning is the first function of management, as you are already aware, and controlling, you have understood that it's the last function of management. So we regard planning and controlling as inseparable twins of management, because both the functions are interrelated and interdependent to one another. Planning identifies the activities and controlling regulates the activities. So you start from planning and you again end up to planning only in the form of replanning. Why replanning? Because through controlling you are able to identify and seek corrective actions and revise your plans, and as a result you again end up at planning. So planning provides you with the various standards or various benchmarks against which the controlling activity or exercise would be performed. So we say that planning without controlling is useless, and same way controlling without planning is absolute waste of effort or again is meaningless. So both of them have their interdependence to one another. So the relationship between the two can also be understood in this manner, that planning precedes controlling and controlling succeeds planning. Planning and controlling are already stated that they are inseparable twins or they are interdependent, and one provides you with the standards. So until and unless you lay down the standards or you lay down the goals or the benchmarks, controlling mechanism cannot be performed. And through controlling again you seek corrective action, and through the corrective action you try to again revise your plans in case there are the deviations are of higher limit or deviations are much more than what was expected. So that means there was something wrong in the plans that you have determined. So as a result, planning provides results to the controlling, and again controlling provides results back to the planning. So it's like a circular process, that planning leads to controlling and controlling again leads to planning through the part of replanning. So what we've understood in this part today is that we talked about controlling, what was the concept of controlling, what was the various features and characteristics of controlling. Then we also discussed and understood about the advantages or the significant aspects related to controlling, and then the limitations, and then finally the relationship between planning and controlling. So thank you so much.